Hey folks, I got some turkey mouth calls here today by HS Strut. This is their Premium Flex 4 pack, which I picked up at Sportsman's Warehouse today for a whopping $12.99. So for less than the cost of one single premium mouth call, you can get 4 mouth calls from HS Strut. As a matter of fact, I called in my first turkey with an HS Strut mouth call on fairly heavily pressured public land. And I'd only been blowing a mouth call for about 4 days. So it goes to tell you that you don't have to sound perfect to call these birds in. Even beginners can have luck, as I did. But I've already taken these calls out of the pack and warmed them up a little bit. So I will give you all kind of a quick soundbite here in a moment of what these each sound like, and I'll talk about each of the calls a little bit too. Okay, and so I should preface this a little bit by saying that in my experience, HS Struts had some highs and lows in terms of mouth call quality. I bought a couple of their mouth calls over the years where the tape around the call was so stiff and inflexible that I couldn't get it to conform to the roof of my mouth, and I could barely get a squeak out of the call. But these calls aren't bad here. These calls I bought today are definitely adequate as far as the tape and just the general quality of components. So I'll start out with my favorite of the bunch, and that is the smoking gun. This is a Ghost Cut. Not too bad. This call's pretty easy to control. It fits my mouth and airflow very well. The other call that I really like in the pack is the Little Strut. This is kind of a unique cutter call. You've got kind of a slash out of the right side of the call there, so it's going to work well for people that have kind of a right of center airflow, which I kind of have a center to right of center airflow. So this call works pretty well for me. It seems like it doesn't have too much tension on the reeds, so I can blow it pretty well. This call gives me a slightly different tone than the Smoking Gun Ghost Cut. So this is a call that I might consider hunting with, along with the Smoking Gun. That brings me to the next call, which is kind of, in my opinion, my third favorite, and that's the Sickle Cut, which is kind of a classic combo cut. For me, I can't get as clean of a front end with this call as I can with the first two, but that being said, this call does give me some decent raspy yelps. This call takes a little more air for me. I'm not able to get the soft, subtle sounds as well as with the first two. My personal least favorite in the pack is going to be the deuce cutter. This is kind of an odd batwing style call, or what some folks will call a tongue cut. It's kind of like you have a kind of a half moon cutter cut, like you would have cut out of, say, the HS Strut cutting 2.5. You have that cut out on both sides of the call. So for me, this call just kind of is a little whiny. It's hard for me to consistently get a clean front end. It just doesn't sound funky. Just for me, this call is kind of just a high-pitched, funky call, and honestly, it's probably the least favorite of the bunch. But for $12.99, it's hard to go wrong, and since everyone's airflow and everyone's palate is just a little different, it's kind of something you have to experiment with to find calls that work. And this pack has enough variety of different calls that somebody's probably going to find something in there that's decent and adequate for killing turkeys. I know that nowadays we all get obsessed with finding the perfect call, but I've had a number of high-end mouth calls that I've purchased from a variety of well-known and respected manufacturers that just either they have too much tension on the bottom reeds or there's something different with the cuts, and I just can't get a sound out of them. And I would actually rate at least the first two calls that I blew in this demo, the smoking gun and the little strut, for me are better than 80% of the calls that are out there. So yeah, give these a try, especially if you're a beginner. One thing is that a lot of folks don't take the time to keep these reeds separated. With reed separators, they just kind of throw the call in their pocket and let the reeds get stuck, as the call dries up. And so in that case, a lot of these cuts, they don't make as much of a difference. You take those kind of mouth calls and give them to somebody, and when the reeds are stuck, then they're all going to sound kind of similar. But yeah, the HS Strut mouth calls, they're worth a shot. I'm definitely going to hold on to these calls as practice calls, and I might take a couple of them hunting. So if you're in the market for mouth calls this season, or you're kind of new to the mouth calling turkeys end game, then I hope this review helps.